Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about something that, in one way or another, touches so many of us: the journey of emotional recovery after trauma. We're going to approach this with a lot of care, really focusing on understanding, on healing, and on that incredible resilience we all have inside of us.
Let's start right here with this really powerful idea because it's kind of the key to this whole explainer. Trauma is not what is happening to us, but rather what happens inside of us. This completely shifts our focus, right? It moves us away from just looking at the external event and points us inward to our own psychological and emotional response. And that distinction, it's everything. It helps us see why healing is such a personal, individual journey.
All right, so to get us all on the same page, let's build a really clear foundation and define exactly what we mean when we use the word trauma. Notice the emphasis here is on the word response. This is so important because, as the source material makes clear, the very same event can affect people in completely different ways. I mean, one person might walk away from something and be okay, while someone else carries the weight of that same experience for years. So trauma, that is the internal weight. It's the internal reaction. And you can see here that trauma doesn't just come from one type of thing. It can be from a sudden, single event, like what you see on the left, a car accident or a natural disaster. But it can also come from an ongoing situation, like the examples on the right, things like bullying or neglect. The point is, both of these paths can lead to that same deep internal wound. So to really get a handle on how these wounds stick around, it's super helpful to look at a concept called the inner child. Now, this isn't about being childish or anything like that. It's really just a way to understand the part of us that holds on to our earliest experiences. Just think of your inner child as kind of like the foundation of your emotional world. It's that part of you, mostly hanging out in your subconscious, where your core beliefs about yourself and the world were first formed. It holds on to the memories and the big feelings from when you were young. And believe me, it has a huge say in your relationships and how you feel about yourself as an adult. So when those early experiences involve things like fear or shame or being hurt, those really powerful emotions don't just go away. We push them down, but they're still active. They can mess with your nervous system and shape your behaviors, a lot of times in ways you don't even realize. That's what we call the wounded inner child. For example, maybe an adult who was always criticized as a kid now has this intense, paralyzing fear of failure at their job. That's the connection, right there.
It's a really powerful question to just sit with for a second. Sometimes it pops up as an over-the-top reaction to something small, or a deep-seated fear you can't explain, or maybe a pattern that keeps showing up in your relationships. Just taking a moment to think about that can be a huge first step toward understanding.
Okay, so let's look at how this all actually shows up in our daily lives. These unhealed wounds, they don't just stay quiet. They create what you could call echoes, and those echoes can ripple through every single part of our being. Emotionally and mentally, these echoes can be deafening. They can show up as anxiety that's always there, or a heavy cloud of depression, or just sudden waves of anger that seem to come out of nowhere. For some people, it's more of an emotional numbness, like a disconnect from the world. It can also mess with your thinking, bringing intrusive memories, making it hard to concentrate, and feeding this really negative voice about yourself. It is a heavy, heavy burden to carry. And this is so important to get. This is not just in your head. Trauma actually lives in the body. The source material points out that it can show up as very real physical symptoms, things like messed up sleep, being tired all the time, and even chronic pain or stomach problems. It's true what they say, the body really does keep the score. I know, acknowledging all these echoes can feel pretty overwhelming, but this is also where the path forward begins. So let's shift gears and focus on the most hopeful part of this whole story: the active, intentional journey of healing. Before we jump into specific strategies, this right here is the most important message. Healing is not a race, and it is definitely not a straight line. There are going to be good days and there are going to be bad days. The source really emphasizes that being patient and being kind to yourself through all of it is absolutely essential. So what does this journey look like in practice? Well, first, it's about letting yourself feel your feelings without judging them. Then it's about rebuilding a sense of safety, often through simple, stable routines. It means reaching out to trusted friends or family instead of pulling away. It's about taking care of the basics: sleep, good food. And it's also about learning to recognize what your triggers are, and finally getting good at setting boundaries to protect your energy so you can heal. And of course, a huge thing to remember is that you don't have to walk this path alone. A trained professional can offer a safe space and special techniques, like somatic therapies, which focus on the body, to really help you process what happened and guide you on your recovery journey. This brings us to the ultimate goal of healing. It isn't about trying to forget what happened, because you can't. It's about integrating the experience in a way that it no longer controls your life. It's about, reclaiming your own story. This quote from the source just says it all, doesn't it? By facing the pain, as hard as that is, we get to take back our own narratives. And this process, it often leads to a new kind of strength, a much deeper self-understanding, and even a new sense of purpose. It's just a testament to our incredible capacity to heal. So just remember, the past doesn't get to define the future. The story is not over. By understanding trauma and really embracing the journey of recovery, we create the possibility for a whole new chapter, one filled with hope and compassion and strength. The pen is back in your hand now.